Hey folks, good evening. All right, we're about to get the meeting started. Before we officially opening the meeting, we're going to have the presentation of the colors by the Junior ROTC, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and then the national anthem will be played. So at this point, I'd ask the Junior ROTC, please present. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rugged red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Okay, first of all, everybody have their voter ID card. If you don't have it, please go grab it. A couple housekeeping rules. Number one, if there are any non-residents here that wish to speak, please remember you have to be recognized by the townspeople before you do speak. We'll be going through. I will read the articles. I will then ask for a motion in a second. After we have a second, then I'll open the floor to debate, discussion, explanation. Once it appears that we are done with the discussion, I will call for a vote. If there are any amendments to any articles, we will have to vote on the amendments and with motion second, the same rules, and then go through that process again on the amendments. So, I'll open the meeting. We're going to start with Article 2. Everybody ready? Okay. Article 2, operating budget. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,268,020, which represents the operating budget. Said sum does not include any other warrant articles. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I motion to move Article 2.
Do I have a second? Okay, Leon? You can stay right there.
Okay, this budget is started back in October with department heads and the select board, and then moved on through the budget committee, through several meetings. They scoured it over, refined it, and this is what's presented to you, which we believe will be the operating cost of the town for the next year. Covers wages, salaries, health insurance, vehicle maintenance, and all those items. Is there any further questions?
Peter?
Peter Riviere. Traditionally, we take this item up pretty much the first action other than voting. And it's always seemed to me to be a misjustice that there's almost never any conversation, and then we pick apart the poor suckers that are asking for a pittance for social services programs at the tail end of the meeting. I'd like to move this item to after the social services are done, and that would take us to, what, 27. And I know that means some of you won't be up for the whole meeting because you got to run home and watch, whatever it is, American Bandstand or something. But catch the 11 o'clock news. But there's so much in this book that is never transmitted, never put into basic English so that any of us can logically work through it. I've been to the budget meetings, I've been to budget hearings, and there's still questions that come up. I mean, if my motion isn't seconded to put this off, then I really want to talk about the cost of each warrant article, and I've got it broken down as to what the expense will be, regardless of where the money's coming from, what the cost of that item is, and it gives you a sense of what of the sort of the range of what we're asking for. Secondly, I will point to the let me just see if it's second for my motion.
Okay, so we have a motion. Let me see. We have a motion second to amend Article 2 to become Article, I think it'd be 28, or move it to 28, after 28. Is that, Peter, is that accurate? Okay. Okay, so the motion is to amend the warrant to move Article 2 to become Article, I guess, 20, yeah, after 28. Let's make it 28A. How's that? I'll keep everything else in order. Make that 28A. All right. Motion second. Okay, all those in favor of amending, what? Okay, you're right, sorry. We have any discussion on this amendment to make Article 2 28A? You want to speak? You're, okay. Anybody else want to discuss this?
So Kristen Franklin, 90 Elm Street. I'm also the Director of Finance for the school district. I just think it bears discussion. I've been to many school board meetings, and not so many for White Mountains Regional School District, but other school boards where Mr. Rivera is exactly right. There's far more discussion over articles that are far less significant. So I think this article bears at least some.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Okay.
Can someone who speaks into the microphone speak directly to the audience?
Okay. All right. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're voting on whether or not to amend Article 2 to make that Article 28A. All those in favor of making Article 2 28A, raise ballot. All those opposed? Is yours up or down, sir? Okay. Okay, it's 34 and 52 against, so that amendment fails. So now we're back to just Article 2, and I'll read it again. So, Article 2, operating budget, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,268,020, which represents the operating budget. Said sum does not include any other warrant articles. If I can just have a re-motion and second on that. Okay, so motion second. Any further discussion on Article 2? Peter?
Yep, okay, I'm going to do a quick tutorial, just so people know what they're voting on, because if you read through this book, and I've read it years and years and years, it's pretty much made to read like Greek, and no offense to the Greeks, but I can't read Greek, and I don't know too many people in the room that can. Oh, you want to see my lips?
Yeah, turn it around, Peter.
So I've calculated, and a couple others have calculated the cost per warrant. So warrant 1, Article 4 is reimburse industrial development fund. That would represent 15 cents on your tax rate. Article 5, no, skip that one. Article 6, dump truck, 10-wheel dump truck, 85 cents per thousand on your tax rate. Article 7, third payment on the sidewalk.
Peter, I got to interrupt you because you're skipping ahead to other articles. If you're going to discuss Article 2, you need to discuss Article 2, not the other articles.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, I'll do 3, 2 and 3. So
just two. We're on Article 2.
Well, we're talking about the operating budget. That's what I'm talking about. Value of the operating budget.
Okay, let's just stick with the operating budget. Article 3 is a separate article.
But they're cost items, and I'm giving you the cost per item in that budget. These are all made up of the budget.
No.
The operating budget is the
Okay, I got your point. I got your point.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go back to the operating budget. Article 2. The budget is $7.2 million, but not really, because we only pay off something like $2.9 million. There's other funds that pay for that. So if you took the assessed value in the town, which is $282 million, and you divide it into the budget, you come up with an approximation of $10.45 would be your new tax rate, okay? What I will say about this budget is that, and all apologies to Ben, this is the first gargantuan budget that he's had to put together. I think he did a pretty good job. The budget committee Neither the Budget Committee nor Ben ever said, here's your limit, department heads. Don't go over 5% of last year's expenditures. Nobody ever put a cap on anything. It was just a free-for-all. So the Budget Committee had to come in and pair or not pair. And in some cases, they got all that they want. In a large case, we spent something like $400,000 worth of what they call unassigned fund balance. Now, in all of our lives, that would be surplus. That would be money you got left over at the end of the month to go have a steak dinner or have a drink out or buy new tires or something like that. And what happened was the Budget Committee came to the realization that the 10-wheel dump truck cost a hell of a lot more than anybody thought it should, or prices that we were used to. And a pickup truck now is $50,000, without the stereo and the leather and all that other jazz. And an ambulance is $132,000, and we're buying 2 of them. Well, it was clear that the impact of those items was going to really inflate the tax rate. And the Budget Committee was trying to keep the tax rate down. So they said, well, how can we lessen the impact? Well, let's go to the unassigned fund balance, the surplus. And there was 801,000 something.
Yeah, that's wrong.
It is wrong.
Yeah, so number one, Peter, I appreciate your recap of the whole budget process, and I'm sure all these other people do. And I will remind you that those are posted publicly, so everybody's welcome to come, so you can get the live, in-person account of it, because I'm more confused now than when I was sitting through it. But that print in the town report, that was, the auditor had misprinted it. But we didn't.
They're having a dialogue here at this moment. He asked a question, so I'm going to let it go. Okay. All right, everybody, time out a second. Okay, let's back up a second. So, Peter, I understand your discussion here on Article 2. What are you asking the people to do? Are you asking them to vote it down?
I'm asking for them to be educated.
Okay, well, I don't think people want to, from looking at the audience, what I'm looking at, I don't think people want to sit through an education system. They either know what they're voting on or they don't, and they can vote against it or they can approve it. So I think that's where we really need to go. Obviously, you're not happy with the budget, but I think right now we need to have a vote on whether or not people want to pass it. And so I guess that's my sense of the room right now, is that people aren't really interested in an education. But I could be wrong, we can put it to vote. So.
I'm not unhappy with the budget.
Okay.
Let me just finish the point that Ben and I were arbitering.
So in the town report, the unreserved surplus fund balance does say I think it's $807,850. So we got that number from the auditor, and that was put on the state report, which is in the town report. But after that was filed, the auditor recognized an error that they made, where monies that they thought was obligated
It's not in here. So let me make a point. The budget committee decided, well, we need these things. We need a 10-wheel dump truck, and we need 2 ambulances, and so on. And I think on page 42, you can find, excuse me, you can find the list of all the rolling stock, all the stock that the town owns, and the ages of them. The comment was made at the budget committee that there was sticker shock. All these items cost a heck of a lot more than we anticipated. And so what we've done in the past is we put money aside in capital reserve funds to hedge it, so that after 2 years, we'd have $100,000 to put towards a new dump truck, or $100,000 to put against an ambulance or whatever. So we mentioned to the budget committee that maybe they ought to adjust how much they put in the capital reserve fund. Last year we had $65,000 in the capital reserve fund. This year we got $65,000 in the capital reserve fund. So apparently sticker shock hasn't hit the budget committee. And so we're using unassigned fund balance or surplus to cover the extra cost of those items. I just think we got to do a better job. We need to do a better job of planning how we spend taxpayers' money. We need to project, when is this other dump truck going to cave in? When are we going to need another police cruiser? When are we going to need this or that or the other? And let's ask more of our budget committee, and let's ask more of our town officers to come up with a better plan than this particular one represents. Is that happy to hear that we're going to see some money back on one of the warrant articles, and happy to hear that there was an error in the auditor's report, which you read and take as gospel because it's in the town report, and apparently it isn't gospel. But we need to be more on the ball with what current prices are and impacts on taxpayers. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator? Could I?
Recognize.
Okay, again, I want to reiterate, this budget process started in October with department heads and the selectmen. They come in, and I got to tell you, none of our department heads ever come in to us with pie in the sky, we want the world figures. We start with what they had the previous year, they go through, and if they have an increase, they justify that increase. And if anybody sitting in this room can say that they haven't had sticker shock when they go to the supermarket or the gas station or went to shop for a new car in the last year and a half, they just haven't done any of those things. So, the budget committee did their job. They did an excellent job. They went through this. They had several meetings. They spent hours scouring this budget. And it is a good budget. I am as cheap as it comes when you're spending taxpayer money. If I thought we could pare money off this, I'd be asking you to do it. I'll also say, it was brought up that money from the surplus fund balance is being used to fund different purchases in this budget. That has been the practice of this board in this town probably for more than 10 years. That when we have a surplus fund balance, which is in excess of what the state requires us to have, and we have to do a capital purchase, we use the surplus fund balance so we do not spike your tax rate. This is planned out. Are there some items in here that cost a lot more money than what we had planned on? You're right. But there, as I said, there's nobody sitting in this room that can say in the last year and a half they haven't had sticker shock when they went to try to either buy or lease a new car, fill the gas tank, buy parts, buy lumber to do home improvements. It's just a fact of life of where we are right now. And I can tell you, and I want to thank the budget committee members that spent the time and the hours on this budget for doing so, because they deserve a big thanks, and I would ask you to approve the budget.
Okay. Rob?
Hi, I've got a pretty loud voice, so I won't use the microphone. I'm Rob Christie, to be brief. I think what we're looking at here... Supposed to go to the mic, so
Thank you.
Rob Christie from Lancaster. The executive summary is that the budget we have now is $25 plus per thousand. It's only $10 and some odd cents after you put in all the town revenues and stuff. But the point I think that Peter is making is that if you look at the cost of living increase over the last 2 years, and Troy wants to make sure that I do 2 years and not one, it's about 8 or 9%. And this budget represents 13% increase over that 2-year period. All I'm saying is at my house, we start with how much money we've got, and then we try to fit our budget into it. And I think I couldn't disagree, or I couldn't agree more that the Budget Committee and the Select Board have spent a lot of time on this. This is a good budget. By the way, Rosa got into a porcupine today. She's a little dopey. Anyway, the long and short of it is, I think Peter's making the point that we would like to try to fit our expenses into a reasonable cost of living increase, even if there are hard decisions to make. And that's what I have to say. So I think this budget has been worked out. A lot of effort's gone into it. I'm proud of it, but I wish it was less. Thank you.
Ma'am?
I just have a brief comment as kind of a newcomer, and I'm not as familiar with all this as you who've been coming for years. But the little synopsis that you just gave, I would feel more comfortable voting on a budget if you led with that. Because I guess people know the process, but some of us don't. So just kind of like, butter me up a little bit.
Okay.
Walk through the process, even if it's very brief. And there's always a couple of highlights, which, that would make me more comfortable, because I'm assuming that you've done your due diligence, but there's always a little bit of a story. So that would make me feel better if you just said what you said and then asked me to vote on it.
All right,
Okay.
appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, we ready to vote? All right. All those in favor of Article 2? All those opposed? Article 2 passes. Article 3, appropriate to capital reserve funds. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $165,000 to be added to the following capital reserve fund accounts previously established for the purpose and the amounts indicated. Highway, $55,000. Fire Department, $50,000. Police, $10,000. Library, $10,000. Cemetery, $10,000. Town Hall, $10,000. Transfer Station, $10,000. Colonel Town, $10,000. Total, $165,000. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 3.
Mr. Moderator, I second that motion.
Okay. Jane, do you want to speak on it?
I would love to. All right, as we just heard just a few minutes ago, the capital reserve, is it on? There we go. As we just heard, the capital reserve fund has been underfunded for several years. This year, we've decided with the budget committee that we're going to increase it. So we kept the highway at $55,000. We increased the fire department by $10,000. We increased the police department $5,000. The library $5,000. The cemetery stayed the same. The town hall, we resumed a capital fund program for it, as well as the transfer station of $10,000. The Colonel Town has been resumed as well for $10,000. Gives a total of $160,000 for the capital reserve fund this year. Any questions?
I want to say,
Okay, Ben, go ahead.
am I recognized?
I'm recognizing you.
Oh, can I, do I have to go to that one?
Go ahead.
You share? Yeah, so I just want to clarify some things Peter had said about the capital reserve fund. Many of the town staff and the department heads had wanted the capital reserve funds to be increased as well as resumed, as Shane mentioned. Some of them have been resumed for several years. Last year was the first year that we increased the capital reserve fund by $50,000 based on some hard work again by the select board, the department heads, and the budget committee. This year we did it again for an extra $50,000. So 2 years ago we were only funding capital reserve funds at $65,000. So as you see here, some of these purchases and these warrant articles are pretty pricey. And some of those capital reserve funds are low, and Mr. Revere, who's one of the trustees of trust funds, would know the balance of those because they're the holders of our capital reserve funds. But so many of them are underfunded, and we need to build those funds back up because, again, prices of things are going up, and we need to replace things so we can provide the same excellent services, that we provide to everybody else. On top of these capital reserve funds is the need for a comprehensive capital improvement plan that we need to have in order to justify and help guide what these amounts are every year that we're going to put into the capital reserve fund. We kind of know in our heads what we're going to need to buy in years, but it's not as comprehensive as it could be. Fire EMS is the only department that really has anything close to a comprehensive capital improvement plan. And the hope is this year to start working on that for all the departments. So next budget season, we can actually say, hey, in 10 years, we're going to need to buy this. So that means we need to put so much money away every year so we reach that, like a Christmas club. So in 10 years, we can buy our kids Christmas presents, basically, is what it is. So I just want to make sure everybody understood what these capital reserve funds are. They're based on capital improvement plans, and we have been negligent in funding them because we have been taking the money from the surplus fund balance. While we've been taking money from the surplus fund balance, we should have been responsible enough to also fund those capital reserve funds, so while we're not spending them, we're at least building them up. So now we're kind of stuck in an in-between. And we do have some hard choices and some hard decisions and some hard work to do, but I'm not at all nervous that we can't do it because we have an excellent crew, excellent staff, excellent select board, and committee members that'll work on it, and the townspeople are very supportive of all of it because they understand and appreciate the services that we all get. Me as a longtime resident, I do. So just want to make sure everybody had that information. And also, I know that there's not every little bit of information that anybody would want in this annual report. I understand that, and I know there's room for improvement, but just understand we can't always know what everybody needs to know to put it in there, but always know that the town office is always open if people have questions. My office is always open if people have questions. My phone is always on me if people have questions, so don't ever think that you can't reach out if you have questions or concerns or problems, because that's what we do here in Lancaster, okay? Thank you.
Rob Christie again. I'd just like to start off by thanking Ben for a great freshman year. It's his first year as manager, and I've watched probably closer than he watched the process. He's doing a great job, and I'm proud of everybody, and Lancaster's doing great too. At this moment, since there are 8 funds that we are voting to increase, could we just take a moment and recite the fund balances for each one of those capital reserve funds that we are about to increase, so we know where we stand?
The current balance?
Yeah, yes.
Before
the increase that we're voting on.
As of the town report that you have in your hand?
Well, assuming that your caveat about the difference between what we have, I'm not being hard now.
No. Hey, I've listened to the public enough to kind of expect what some of these questions are going to be. So, and it's really small writing, so excuse me. You don't have worse eyes than I do, Riv. So the cemetery has over $18,000 in their capital reserve fund. Fire EMS currently has $112,000, and it's some change, but I can only get those numbers. Highway, purchase of highway equipment right now has $245,000. What else we got? Weeks Library,
$90,000. Can we put this on 2 pages next year, man? Police Department, $38,000. I think Rob asked for this just to get this result. Colonel Town, $9,800. That's a Colonel Town spending. They might have 2. Yep. Was that it? Transfer station is somewhere. You getting all this, Chad? I think that's it. Where's the transfer station? Town hall is 89,000. Oh yeah, sanitation. No, that would be sewer. Yeah, so that was.
Said we resumed, so maybe they didn't do it.
No, we have, no, it's there. The only one I'm missing is the transfer station, and it used to be on, the transfer station I know has over 200,000. Because we were looking at that because there's a warrant article for the transfer station, and it has plenty of funding for that. But it's all in your town report, page 46. Get binoculars. My mother doesn't.
All right, are we ready to vote on Article 3? All right. All those in favor of Article 3? All those opposed? Article 3 passes. 247? 247 transportation, okay. Article 4, reimburse industrial development fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $140,000, sorry. Give me a second, it's a long day. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $41,155 to be added to the Industrial Development Capital Reserve Fund previously established with said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that motion.
Mr. Moderator, I second that motion.
Okay, Troy?
Yes, I'd like to speak to the motion.
Okay.
The sum isn't coming out of cost of taxpayers, which was mentioned earlier. This is money that is raised during the course of the year on our loan funds. And it goes into the general fund, so we have to make a motion to put it back into the industrial fund. So that's the sum of the motion.
Okay. All right, do we have any questions on Article 4?
My same question, Rob Christie. What is the current balance before we reimburse it $41,500?
All right. You know,
Everyone has it.
What's that?
54,000.
54,000. Any other questions? Okay. There's another question over here.
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's coming from, the town has made loans to certain businesses in town that had needed them, and these funds represent the amount they have paid back over the course of the last year. So we want to take those funds and put them back into the industrial fund, so if we have more requests for loans, we can do that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Okay, all those in favor of Article 4? All those opposed? Article 4 passes. Article 5, money received from fundraising and donations. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $260 to be added to the Colonel Town Capital Reserve Fund previously established with said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. The amount represents monies from donations to Colonel Town Recreation. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 5.
I'll second it.
Leo?
Mr. Moderator, this is basically donations that Colonel Town received in the last year. In order to put them into the Capital Reserve Fund, we have to come to you and ask you for permission to do that. We would ask that you support that, because that is money that they had donated to them. So that's simple it is. It's a bookkeeping warrant article.
Any questions, comments? Okay, good. All those in favor of Article 5? All those opposed? Article 5 passes, all right. Okay, Article 6, purchase new 10-wheel dump truck with body and plow. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $239,000 for the purpose of purchasing a new 10-wheel dump truck with body and plow for Highway Department, with said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 6.
Second?
Mr. Moderator, I second the Article 6.
All right, Tim? Tim Brown's going to talk on this one.
Tim Brown, Highway Foreman. We're looking to replace our 2005 International six-wheel dump truck with a 10-wheel dump truck. There's a few different reasons for that. One being we got pulled over this spring and we were grossly overweight, so we can only carry about a quarter of a load on a six-wheel truck, whereas the 10-wheel truck we can carry 3 times as much. And I've had to hire the 10-wheel dump trucks to haul material to us at $80 to $100 an hour. And we're going to use that truck out east as well. It takes 2 loads of sand to do that route out there. We could do that with the 10-wheeler with 1 load. It would cut back on time and overtime.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments, discussion? Peter?
For those of you who don't know, I live right on Route 3 on Corrigan Hill. These guys are out so much earlier than the state gets out on the main road. The state's got this fancy new piece up at Mount Prospect, you know, it tells them the temperature of the road surface, and it's got video so they know whether it's snowing or icy or whatever. They're 45 minutes behind these guys. Last year we had a couple of ice storms. These guys realized the school buses are behind them. They're coming soon, right? And so they don't go down Martin Meadow Pond Road. They go down to the high school so that the school buses at least have a safe thoroughfare. That's the kind of town crew we got. And it'd be that much easier with a 10-wheeler. You won't have to go back and get
Yes, it
another
would.
load.
It would cut. It takes about 45 minutes to come back from out east, especially with a truck to get another load of sand.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Oh, all right. All those in favor of Article 6? All opposed? Article 6 passes. Articles. All right. Article 7, lease purchase sidewalk plow third payment. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $69,129 for the third payment on the 3-year lease purchase agreement entered into in 2020 for a sidewalk plow for the Highway Department, and to authorize the withdrawal and expenditure of said sum from the Highway Capital Reserve Fund. This lease agreement contains an escape clause. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion to...
Move
Mr.
Article 7.
Moderator, I second that motion.
Okay. Tim Brown again. It's the last payment on the plow. That's pretty much it. Okay. So, any questions on a 3-year lease purchase? This is the last payment. Rob?
Rob Christie. Is the plow operating now? Sure is. It's been repaired? Sure has. Wonderful. Looking good. And by the way, it was broken and they never missed a beat. The sidewalks have been perfect the whole time.
Okay. Ma'am, you had a... Wait. Yeah, come on up to the microphone. You're just too quiet.
Sorry, I have heard my whole life that nobody can hear me. I should have known better. Kristen Franklin, 90 Elm Street. I was just asking an idea how much estimated life was left in the plower. Oh, that's a deal. We guys should definitely vote for that.
Okay. All right, settle down. Okay. All those in favor of Article 7? All those opposed? Article 7 passes. Okay. Article 8, lease purchase cardiac monitors third payment. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $35,000 for the third payment on the 3-year lease purchase agreement entered into in 2020 for 3 cardiac monitors for the fire department, and to authorize the withdrawal and expenditure of said sum from the fire department capital reserve fund. This lease agreement contains an escape clause. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 8.
Mr. Moderator, I'll second it.
Okay. Randy?
Flynn, the fire chief. As it states, it's just our last payment on our 3-year lease purchase on cardiac monitors. We have 5 monitors. We bought 3 at the same time and lease purchased them out. They should be good for 15 years.
Okay. Any comments on that discussion? Yeah, nobody wants to vote against a thing that's going to save their life. Okay. All those in favor of Article 8? All those opposed? Article 8 passes. Article 9, purchase new ambulances. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $242,000 for the purchase of 2 new ambulances, with $192,000 to come from unassigned fund balance and the remaining $50,000 to come from grant funding. If the grant funding is not awarded, 1 ambulance will be purchased using unassigned fund balance with no amount to be raised by taxation. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 9.
Mr. Moderator, I second the motion.
Okay. Randy, you're up again.
As I stated in my comment earlier, we have 5 ambulances that are on the road, and they're all pretty busy. We did skip last year not buying one. And right now, at present, the 2 box ambulances that we have one of them that has a little over 200,000 on it. It's getting kind of tender and tired. And then we've got another box truck that's has 300,000 miles on it. That one's really tired. That'll probably be one of the ones that goes out. Then we've got 3 vans, and the mileage on the vans, 80,000 on our newest one. One's 179,000 on our second one, and 159 on our third one. And what we're hoping to purchase is 2 all-wheel drive vans. We do a lot of interstate driving and Route 2, whatever. We're hoping they'll be better as far as winter travel with all-wheel drive. And they're a lot cheaper than the box trucks. Gladly entertain any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions? Okay. All those in favor of Article 9? All those opposed? Article 9 passes. Article 10, purchase new demo pre-crusher. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $65,000 to the purchase of a new demo pre-crusher and to refurbish the old auger cans to fit the new machine and add supports to said containers, and to authorize the withdrawal and expenditure of said sum from the transfer station capital reserve fund. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move the motion.
Second?
Mr. Moderator, I second the Article 10.
All right. And Brian? He's coming.
Brian Patno, Transfer Station Manager. This is to replace our auger, which is 11 years old. It is broken, not worth repairing. I'm thinking this should pay for itself in between 4 and 6 years. Also, the other thing it'll save is the highway department comes down with the backhoe multiple times a week. They won't have to do that anymore. So that should save the town quite a bit of money.
Okay, any questions? Okay, all those in favor of Article 10? All those opposed? Article 10 passes. Article 11, rehabilitate sewer line. to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $225,000 for the purpose of rehabilitating the main sewer line on Main Street from Grandview Drive to Canal Street, with said funds to come from the Sewer Enterprise Fund unassigned fund balance. Do I have a motion?
And Mr. Moderator, I move Article 11.
Mr. Moderator, I'll second it.
Okay. Tim somewhere? There he is.
Tim.
I'm Tim Bilodeau. I'm a non-resident, so I believe you'll have to do a vote to allow me to speak.
That's true. All in favor of allowing Tim to speak? All opposed? All right. Go ahead.
This fall, we found that there was a section of sewer line up near the Verizon stores that was very, very bad shape. And the rest of the sewer, all the way down through Dunkin' Donuts, all the way to the intersection of Canal and Middle Street, we viewed it with a camera, and it's not any better than the section we fixed. So this is a pipe within a pipe, and it doesn't require any excavation, and we're going to literally put a newer liner inside of there. It won't last forever, probably last 25 years, but that sewer line would probably cost, $5-6 million to replace. So this is a cheap way around it until we can come up with a long-term solution.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. All those in favor of Article 11? All opposed? Article 11 passes. Article 12, purchase new pickup truck. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 for the purpose of purchasing a new pickup truck for the water and sewer departments, with $25,000 to come from the Water Enterprise Fund unassigned fund balance and $25,000 to come from the Sewer Enterprise Fund unassigned fund balance. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 12.
Mr. Moderator, I second that motion.
And Tim, you're up again.
This is going to replace the Ford F-250 we have. It's due to be replaced anyways. The rear body it's fallen to rust, and it's really not worth repairing. So it's time for it to be replaced through its 10-year schedule, and that's about it. If anyone has any questions, I'll answer them.
Okay. Questions, comments on Article 12? Okay. All those in favor of Article 12? All opposed? Article 12 passes. Article 13, preliminary designs for new highway garage and permitting for underground fuel storage tanks. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 for the purpose of preliminary designs of a new highway garage and permitting for the replacement of the town's underground fuel storage tanks with said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion.
Mr. Moderator, I will second that.
All right. Then I think you're on this one.
So for those of you that don't know, that the highway garage, which is on the other side of the fire station, it also houses the water and sewer department. Several years ago, maybe 15 plus years ago, it was kind of basically deemed condemned. In the meantime, we put a new roof inside of it, and I guess hoping it would last us another generation. So I guess that generation is over. This past summer, the highway crew did some work in the garage door aprons. They were heaving and cracking, so the doors weren't sealing tight. And as they were chipping away the concrete and excavating out, they found that there were some severe structural issues with it, to the point that it is severely lacking in safety. So the need is to have an engineering firm come in and look at it, look at the site, develop plans for a new highway garage at some point, which then we can seek funding for as many alternatives as possible. And it's important, not only, the safety of the employees is the biggest issue, but there's also a lot of equipment in there as well. So any of that is irreplaceable. On top of that, too, is the need, we're going to need to get some permitting for our underground storage tanks, our fuel tanks, as well as our gas and diesel tanks. And that would go along with part of that is developing the permitting for that, because those tanks that are underground are coming into the age where they're going to be needing replacement. And although there haven't been any identified leaks, it's better for us to be prepared and have the permitting in place. So we either do it before there's leaks, or if there are some signs of leakage, we can take care of it right then and there. So that's what that money is for, and be happy to answer questions if you have any. Appreciate there being them.
Okay, all those in favor of Article 13? All opposed? Article 13 passes. Article 14, replace boards at skating rink. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $55,000 for the purpose of replacing the boards at the skating rink with said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 14.
Mr. Moderator, I'll second it.
Okay. Peter, I guess you're up on this one.
I was going to petition this warrant article, but the select board agreed. It's a town facility, so they would put this in. Our original plan was to go to a broker who sells hockey rink equipment, and what they do is if they sold a prep school in Rhode Island a new set of hockey boards, they would package the old ones up and sell them off at a discounted price. Typically $30,000 to $35,000 plus $10,000 of shipping. So we thought that was probably a good way to go. You put the boards up, they're Lexan, they never rust, they never rot, and we're dealing with rotting plywood all the time. So, we thought this was a low maintenance fix. What we've since decided is that we can probably fix the worst spots for a whole lot less than that. But take into account that we also have to replace a water line that comes from over by the Thompson machine lot that the 12 tribes own. It's maybe 350 feet to the hut. And that's the source of us making water and running a bathroom, a toilet. Don't know what that's been priced. The town crew likely would do it, but we don't know, what the cost will be. So the $55,000, I think, will cover the cost of us repairing both ends and also replacing that water line so that we can continue to make ice. So we'll keep it at $55,000. Thank you.
Are there any questions on that?
I don't quite understand. So what is the cost going to be? You said you'd be able to raise money some other way.
No, I said we wouldn't buy the $35,000 secondhand boards. We will replace those pieces that are either heaving or rotting or whatever, and replace the water line, which now is shut off. We have to run over and turn it curb stop just to get water into the building so we can make ice, and then go back and turn it off when we're finished so it doesn't leak under the building. So that needs to be figured in. So 55 will probably cover both of those long-term fixes.
So if we vote this, we will not have Lexan boards and plywood boards?
Right, yep. And what we're talking about doing is getting rid of the tennis netting and putting up what we used to have at the old rink at the elementary school, which was chain link around the corners, so that we don't have to climb a ladder and put it up in the fall, climb a ladder and take it down in the spring. So we're lessening the maintenance. I'm the old guy. I'm 76, and my partner up in the back row there, he's 69. So we ain't getting so good at climbing ladders any longer,
Okay, all those in favor of Article 14? All those opposed? All right, Article 14 passes. Article 15, replace lighting. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 for the purpose of replacing the library's lights with LED lights with said funds to come from the Library Capital Reserve Fund. The special warrant article will be a non-lapsing appropriation per RSA 32:7, paragraph 6, and will not lapse until the lights are replaced by March 8th, 2027, whichever is sooner. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 15.
Mr. Moderator, I second it.
Okay, where's library trustee? Oh, there we go. There she is.
Linda Hutchins, I'm currently the chair of the library trustees. This is money that we actually came last year and looked for, and it did lapse because we were unable to secure the contract and whatever for the lighting. This will be definitely a money saver and an improvement in the ambiance, and we ask for your vote. Thank you.
Any questions on lighting? Ma'am? Linda?
All upstairs.
Yeah.
Hi, Linda. You may not be able to answer this, but I'd like to put it out there so that your committee could work on that. My name is Kate Hartnett. I live in Governor's Terrace. And one of the things that I love about this town is that, thanks to Ben's work, there's language about minimizing light pollution in town. And so my request is any lighting on the library is what's called full cutoff, that lights down, it doesn't light up, so that the sky stays dark. It saves energy and it reduces glare, so it's safer. And it also makes the town look much more relaxed to have lighting that's not shining in your eyes. So I would be happy to work with your group to make sure that whatever you spec meets those requirements. It's simply called dark skies compliant lighting. Stays the light down instead of going up in the sky.
We appreciate your input. We would certainly appreciate you coming and speaking with us.
Thanks very much.
Redmond?
Has any, have you decided to find out how much money you would save over a 5-year period putting in LEDs, taking out the cabin?
We don't have an exact figure on that.
Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor of Article 15? All opposed? Okay, Article 15 passes. Article 16, rescind 2021 Article 20, water storage tank. To see if the town will vote to terminate the non-lapsing appropriation adopted by the 2021 town meeting with respect to adding a water storage tank at the water plant. Anticipated grant funds in the amount of $750,000 are not expected to be received. Passage of this article will restore $250,000 to the general fund. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion.
Mr. Moderator, I'll second that motion.
Okay. Ben?
Last year at town meeting, we had a warrant article seeking, this warrant article said, $250,000 to be matched with up to $750,000 in grant funding to put a storage tank at the water treatment plant out off of Pleasant Valley Road. There was a grant in mind. We applied for it. We did not receive it. So therefore, we don't have that $750,000 to spend. So with no clear path to go, in order to get that money, I think it's valuable to have that money available in case there's an emergency. Part of this surplus fund balance is to have monies available in case there is an emergency that we can go after. I know Mr. Bilodeau isn't extremely happy with the idea of giving that money back because his fear, which is a valid fear, is that this project at the water treatment plant is going to be abandoned, but I promise him that that's not the case. He still probably is not 100% confident, but, and that's fair, but that's not the case. Again, going back to these capital improvement plans that we need to do, part of that is to bolster our water capacity out east in that area. But again, with no clear plan, I don't feel it's a good idea to just hold on to money without having a clear path on how to spend it, because that money could potentially be used somewhere else in an emergency. So that, again, as I said previously, that would bring our surplus fund balance up to about 1.33 million if we put that money back in there. So I promised Tim, I'm on camera, I'm recorded, it's not abandoned, but I think it's important that we put the money back. Thanks. John? I'm sorry.
John Ayers, 38 2nd Street in Lancaster. My question is, why did the funding fall through? Where did we come up short on that?
So we had an organization write a grant. It was the Northern Borders grant, and we just didn't, I guess, meet the grade with the grant evaluators. That was it. I mean, I think it is a very important project. A lot of what they base it on is, you know, job creation, job retention, stuff like that, where I don't know. I can't tell you what the reasons are, but I mean, there are other potentials out there. We just have to research them and go after them. Yeah.
I appreciated, Rob Christie again, Mount Prospect Road. I appreciated the remarks about why we had to encumber funds for the library lighting, and now it's obvious to me, and it wasn't before, that the advantage of what we did, and we're reversing, was a construction project for a tank would probably take more than a year. Nowadays, it would take that long just to get engineering. So that's why it was non-lapsing, means the money stays available for a number of years, where usually it's just 1 year. So we're undoing what didn't work, but we needed to do it before so we could have the long-term project. So I guess I'm explaining to myself why we're doing this.
Okay. All in favor of Article 16? All opposed? Article 16 passes. Article 17, support Lancaster Historical Society. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to assist with the operating budget for the Lancaster Historical Society, with said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 17.
Mr. Moderator, I'll second it.
Okay. Dan?
I'm Stan Connect at 159 Main Street, and I'm here to talk about our house. And Linda Hutchins is the one that has referred to the Historical Society's Wilder Holton house as our house because it does belong to all of us. I'm just going to give you a little background and 4 quick points. I'm not going to take a lot of time. Since 1965, the Historical Society has been the steward of the Holton house. And as many of you know, the house is in need of some very significant repairs. The quotes that we've gotten are in the area of $500,000 to start to basically just get the outside, the foundation and the outside redone. As with most organizations, the Historical Society operates with very few people. We have a board of directors. I'm a volunteer with them, but we have a board of directors, and in the past 3 years, we've had 37 volunteers that have worked with the society, and we have 36 paid members of the society. So even though the surveys we've done have shown that everybody supports the society and what we're doing, that support kind of ends when it comes to actually paying money or coming up and volunteering there. Our chief annual fundraiser, as most of you know, most of you think of the Historical Society as the flea market up there. That's our key fundraiser, and it's also the time when a lot of people get a chance to tour the facilities and see what we have there. Because we can't move the flea market around from different dates, we're very weather dependent. So we're very lucky if some years, if we get 80% of the 10 days that we that we have available to us. Also, with the whole COVID situation, that has put us in a different situation. We had absolutely zero flea markets 2 years ago. Last year, because there's still the residual effect of the COVID, many people weren't showing up, and because of the groups. The final thing that I'd just like to say is that this isn't a decision that the society had come to lightly. We didn't initially choose to go to the town for funds, but we really felt that we needed to create a dialogue, and we thought this would be the best way to begin a dialogue with the town. And just one final thing is that in the Constitution and the bylaws of the society, if the society ever ceases to exist, the property reverts back to the town. So in the long run, the more budget-friendly way to keep it going is to give a little money now instead of having everything fall back on the town.
Any questions?
You're wanting to renovate the building, and you've raised $500,000?
No, that's the price of what we have to come up with.
So how much have you raised so far? $55,000. All right. Yeah. So then basically the town owns the building?
No, we just started the fundraising campaign, so the fundraising campaign is even a couple months old. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. The comment was made is we do have grant applications that are making progress.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, all those in favor of Article 17? All those opposed? Article 17 passes. Article 18, Northern Human Services, White Mountain Mental Health. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,921 for the support of Northern Human Services, White Mountain Mental Health. And do we have a representative? Sue? We have a motion. Yeah. We got a motion. We have a second on that one? All right, motion second. Go ahead.
Suzanne Gations-Olson, I'm from 77 Prospect Street. So we ask for this every year. This is to help us offset the cost of the individuals that we see that are either uninsured or underinsured from Lancaster specifically. We did about, last year, 268 hours for Lancaster residents, 80 different residents. That's an unduplicated count. Emergency services was a large bulk of that, and with COVID, that's gone up a lot. So we're asking for $5,921 in order to offset that cost. The cost of us, for that service is $41,000 approximately. So, any questions?
Okay, all those in favor of Article 18? All those opposed? Article 18 passes. Okay, Article 19, Northern Gateway Chamber of Commerce. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,640 for the support of the Northern Gateway Regional Chamber of Commerce. Do I have a motion? Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Right, a couple seconds. All right. Any discussion? Anybody here on behalf of Article 19?
This time I'm the secretary for the Northern Gateway Chamber of Commerce. This represents the amount that we have asked for every year that this town has been gracious enough to grant. It amounts to 50 cents per capita count. It's a large chunk of our operating budget, and we are there to support and inform and unite the businesses in our area and in our catchment area, which there are 9 towns now. So we would appreciate it if you would continue to fund us. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you for that, too.
All right. All those in favor of Article 19? All opposed? Article 19 passes. Article 20, Caleb Caregivers. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $6,000 for the support of the Caleb Caregivers who serves the needs of senior citizens in the community. Do we have a motion? A motion, Peter, you have a second? A couple seconds. Anybody here talking?
Hi, I'm Barbara Pear, and I live here in town at 55 Bernstein Street. I'm also the director of Caregivers. We are a nonprofit organization that offers free services to seniors in our town and 9 other towns in Coos County. We offer free transportation that includes to Dartmouth, Boston, and locally around town, shopping, picking up medical prescriptions, housework, yard work, basically anything that assists a senior staying independent in their home a little bit longer. We also offer our volunteers mileage reimbursement, and right now with the gas prices going up, that's been going to be increased as well. So in Lancaster alone, last year in 2021, Lancaster residents accounted for 12 of our volunteers, 43 clients, took 7,069 miles driven, 765 trips, over 605 hours. We rely on the town appropriation monies, donations, fundraising, and grants to help us reimburse our drivers, as mentioned, and also to support our organization. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, all those in favor of Article 20? All opposed? Okay, Article 20 passes. Article 21, CASA. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,000 for the support of CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates of New Hampshire. Do we have a motion? Okay, got a motion? Do we have a second? And we got a second. Anybody here to speak on behalf of CASA? Go ahead.
I've never introduced myself tonight, so Benjamin Gachens Olson, 77 Prospect Street. I'm a previous board member of CASA. I haven't served with them for about 4 years, but for those of you that don't know, they're volunteer advocates, basically guardian ad litems that represent children who are involved in the court system of no fault of their own, mainly custody issues and stuff like that. And if it wasn't for CASA volunteers, then they would be represented by basically lawyers, guardians ad litem, who are only required to meet with them once over the course of a whole case, which could last a year or more. So the CASA volunteers typically meet with them at least once a month, and they are the voice of those kids that go to court. Some of those kids obviously don't want to speak up or don't even know what they should say. So I think for $1,000, it's a pretty valued and important organization in this day and time, or any day and time. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. But like I said, I haven't been on their board for a few years.
Okay, all those in favor of Article 21? All those opposed? Article 21 passes. Article 22, American Red Cross. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,600 for the support of the American Red Cross. Do we have a motion? Got a motion? Do we have a second? And a second. Anybody here on behalf of Red Cross? Okay. All those in favor of Article 22? All those opposed? Article 22 passes. Article 23, Tri-County Community Action Program. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $8,150 for the support of the Tri-County Community Action Programs to include fuel and electrical assistance, weatherization, transportation, homeless intervention and prevention, guardianship, RSVP, and workforce programs. Do we have a motion? Okay, I got a motion. Second. Anybody here to talk about Article 23? Any discussion? All those in favor of Article 23? All those opposed? Article 23 passes. Article 24, Center for New Beginnings. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,000 to help support the Center for New Beginnings in Littleton, which provides counseling and mental health services to individuals throughout the North Country. Do I have a motion? Got a motion? Do I have a second? And a second. Any discussion? Anybody here? Oh, you are? Oh, yeah. Come on down. Are you from Lancaster? No? Okay.
My name is Ilma Galeote. I'm at 87 Gore Road in Lancaster, and I'm also here to thank you for the time to speak on behalf of the Center for New Beginnings as one of their board members. As you probably know, this is a yearly request to this town to help support the needs of the community. The funds received through these donations help support a fund for people who have no insurance or have lost their insurance. We don't turn anyone away for lack of ability to pay. In 2021, the Center for New Beginnings provided services to 550 individuals. We logged 7,100 patient hours, and 30 of our clients reside here in Lancaster. When we do have extra funds available, such as from these donations, like I said, we put them in a fund that provides support for people who can't pay for the services otherwise. Any questions? Thank you for your time.
Okay, all those in favor of Article 24? All opposed? Article 24 passes. Article 25, North Country Home Health and Hospice. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $17,991 for the support of North Country Home Health and Hospice Agency. Do I have a motion? A motion? Do I have a second? And a second. Any discussion or anybody here to talk about Article 25? Okay. All those in favor of Article 25? All those opposed? Article 25 carries. Article 26, Androscoggin Valley Home Care. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $8,000 for the purpose of supporting the clients of Androscoggin Valley Home Care who live in Lancaster. Do I have a motion? Got a motion. Do I have a second? I got a second. Okay. Any discussion on Article 26? Is there? Oh. Well, geez, don't hide. I expect you to jump up. Okay, what's your name? Rita. All right, all those in favor of letting Rita speak? All opposed? Go ahead.
My name is Rita Primo. I am from Androscoggin Valley Home Health Services. We service 40 residents in the town of Lancaster, 34 of them receiving homemaking services, and 6 of them getting LNA services. We also employ 3 Lancaster residents from employment. We are a nonprofit. We are licensed through the state of New Hampshire and Health and Human Services. We were lucky enough to run our services through the whole pandemic, which was really good, which was hard, but it was good. And would hope that you guys would support our funding.
Okay, any questions, Rita? Okay, all those in favor of Article 26? All those opposed? Article 26 passes. Article 27, the backpack program. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,000 to assist with the cost of the North Country Weekend Backpack Program. Do I have a motion? Got a motion. Do I have a second? You're seconding? All right, got a couple. All right, anybody here to speak in favor of the backpack?
Linda Ogle, Burnside Street. I'm a backpack volunteer. 38 students from Lancaster Elementary are enrolled in our program. We provide them breakfast, lunch, and snacks on Saturdays and Sundays and every school vacation and holiday. It costs us approximately $5.49 per child per weekend, and we request about 5% of our cost from the town. We are 100% volunteer, 100% donations to help us to exist. Questions?
Ben?
It's good. It's good. I was approached. I just want Linda to know, and the people that do volunteer for the backpack program. I had somebody approach me today that is interested. They're to anonymously donate the appropriation if approved, and this isn't any blackmail. But to donate $2,000 anonymously if this to benefit Lancaster kids, though, is what they said.
Strictly
So.
for Lancaster kids, all the towns that we represent donate towards the care of these children, so we're asking you for Lancaster children.
So just,
So, I'm okay with that.
are you sure? Honest? Okay. Can't take it back, Linda.
Okay.
Any other discussion on Article 27? All those in favor of Article 27? All opposed? Okay, Article 27 passes. Article 28, video recordings of meetings. To see if the town would like to continue video recording the bi-monthly Board of Selectmen's meetings and making the recordings available for viewing on the internet. Do I have a motion? A motion, do I have a second? You're seconding, okay? Okay.
So this was an article that the Select Board wanted to be placed on the warrant. For those of you that don't know, for the past, since July, the Select Board meetings have been recorded and then, not live streamed, but recorded and then placed on YouTube, on Granite North Television's YouTube site page. And this is basically, and it was done as a test run. And then this question is basically to see if the town would like to continue that. I think the Select Board, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, Select Board's stance is that if the public at town meeting vote to continue it, then it would be continued. If the consensus is that you don't want to have it continue, then we would not continue it basically after tonight. I do have a few statistics. Chad Filione, Flu Media is in the back. He's the one live streaming tonight, and he provided me with the statistics. So basically, for 15 meetings from July 6th through, and I'm not including the last meeting, right, Chad? Just through, just through the last meeting in February. Those 15 meetings, average views were 22 views. Average viewership of the video was 9.5 minutes, and average viewership percentage of that time was 23, basically 23% of the average meeting time was viewed. Did that is that correct? Am I reading that right, Chad?
Yeah.
All right. As a comparison, Littleton, similar basic time, 15 meetings, their average views are 30. Their average viewership of video is 13 minutes and 40 seconds, and the average viewership percentage is 16%. So Littleton viewers watch less of their videos than Lancaster residents do. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We don't have the Nielsen ratings yet, but we just have this. So yeah, I don't know, but I don't know. Chad might be able to add some more. So I'm willing to answer questions on it for people that want to know anything about it. And Chad certainly, who has done it, and he's done it for other towns, can certainly provide other information.
Considering your tie, we might get Nielsen ratings.
I'll hear more.
Again, I'm Rob Christie from Mount Prospect Road. When I heard the statistics, I was initially a little bit discouraged, especially since I was one of the instigators of the project in the first place. But when you think about if 9 or 10 views are taken, we have an average of a low number of minutes. Remember, an average is the people who watch long added to the people who watch short divided by the number of people. So there are people who watch the whole meeting. And some of the people who watch the whole meeting are the reporters from the Caledonian, from the Colebrook paper, from the Coos County Democrat. So don't be discouraged if the numbers seem small. It's actually, we would rather have reporters come to our meetings, but this is the age of media, and this is how it works. So I personally think it's a good idea. I like the fact that our politicians get exposure because they do good things, and it's a good thing to see. And in my experience, it's well worth supporting. So I would encourage everyone to vote yea.
Any other comments?
Harrison, Elm Street. Question, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Good, thank you. What I didn't hear was how many viewers. I heard average time, but I didn't hear how many viewers. And this is interesting to me because I attended the White Mountain Regional School Board meeting last week. My wife Zoomed in, right? Because they're televising everything. There were 3 other people on watching with her. Right? And that was that many of us in the room, other than teachers, at that meeting. So I'm just interested in knowing what those numbers are.
Right, yeah, so John, I don't have a specific viewer count, only the number of views. So it doesn't differentiate whether it was the February 22nd meeting, there were 13 views. It doesn't differentiate between whether that's 13 individual people or one person clicking on it 13 times. The average number of views over the course of those 15 meetings are 22. So the highest, I will tell you the highest, this is Nielsen worthy, maybe Linda. July 19th was the highest, 55 views was the July 19th meeting. The lowest was 12 views on January, oh no, I'm sorry, it was the July 6th. So January 3rd was the 12 views, that's the lowest view count. I will say that I would like the public to base this not on the fact that the newspapers are watching it to write their reports, because I don't think that that's fair, that the taxpayer subsidizes their coverage. I want it to be based on the fact that you think it's of value to the community, the people that live here, not the newspapers, because, and I say this a little tongue-in-cheek, but if we're going to be subsidizing the newspapers' coverage, then I'm going to start getting baseball caps from the businesses in town and wearing them at those meetings, so at least the businesses in town can start getting some coverage on TV. Wayno's will be the first one. Trish, is that why your hands up? I apologize, I didn't answer that. So the contract, the initial contract with Flume Media was $200 a meeting. If this contract is renewed after today, starting the first meeting after town meeting, it would be $240 a meeting. So there's 19 select board meetings left in the year, and that would be a cost of $4,560. And again, these aren't live streamed, these are recorded and then put on the YouTube page for viewing afterwards. Yeah.
From a social media standpoint, and I pay pretty close attention, it's what I do for a living. I didn't even know they were being streamed, although I've been to the last couple meetings till the other day. I'm happy about it, and if 22 views, people trip over them, that means if we let people know, I would think, particularly since you don't have to be here, and how many of us would fast forward through the things we weren't interested in if we could. So I see down the road, number one, I think digital access is going to be just a standard practice in business and in government. Number two, if we did any kind of publicity, I think you'd see those numbers go up. It's never going to be like a celebrity, I don't know what, but I mean, except for you. But, and the price is very reasonable for all of that equipment in his time. And we have to keep written records of everything, and they're not accessible without a great deal of difficulty from the average citizen. This is very accessible, so I think I'm glad it's happening, and I think you see quite a bit more interest. Even if we just posted a little notice on a Facebook page.
It's on our webpage.
Right, if you stuck it on the Facebook page, that would be easy.
And then, wait, another question over here?
So Chris Franklin, 90 Elm Street. I'm just wondering, like the first meeting was the highest viewing, and the last meeting was the lowest viewing, and I'm wondering, is that a steady decline that's telling us that fewer and fewer people are viewing?
I mean, it's hard to say, but obviously, I mean, certainly if you go, probably the older meetings you might think would have more views because they're older. The more current ones might have fewer. I mean, so again, February 22nd, there were 13, but yet, you know, a month and a half before, the January 3rd meeting was the lowest one of 12. We had November 15th was 23 views. So, I mean, after that 55 count, the rest of the counts are in the mid-20s, pretty much the mid-20s to low to mid-teens.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it was a case of it was novel and new and a lot of people checked it out and then so nobody knows. So that was
Well, I will say, Linda, all due respect, just because you didn't know doesn't mean nobody knows. And that might, yeah.
So it might be too soon to pull a plug. The other thing I'll tell you about the press and with the school district is we do live stream our meetings and the press will watch that, and then they still pepper us with questions that are perfectly well answered by the video. So it would be really helpful to the school district if we told the common line that, you know what, watch the video. So.
Peter?
I guess the calculation for what it would cost for another year, 45, 60, something like that. Yeah, remainder of the year.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess it begs the question, what would it cost us to Zoom those meetings? I don't know how the school district does it, but we have the bandwidth here, I'm assuming. What would it cost us to Zoom it with our own equipment?
So I will tell you this. I'm not about to put anybody else in charge of anything else at the select board meetings. You have a clerk, a secretary. I have to facilitate setting up equipment and monitoring it and making sure that it's continuing to work, because God forbid, if something breaks down, then there's going to be this big worry that, oh my God, they're hiding something from us. So I'm not about to do that. So that's why the idea, if we're going to do it, we want to do it right, and we want to do it with less burden on an already overworked staff. We would contract it out. If that's an issue with people, then let it be an issue. But that's what it is. The proposal is basically we would contract with Flume Media for $240 for the rest of the year, 19 meetings, 45, 60. That's what's on the table. Because I ain't setting up Zoom. Yeah, and then, you know, obviously, then the budget season would begin and we'd have to determine whether anything else. So, I mean, they might defund the town manager position next year, who knows, so.
Okay, all those in favor of Article 28? All those opposed? All right, Article 28 passes. Okay. Baseball hats. All right, Article 29. Any other business? I'll take a motion to adjourn. What? Yeah. All those in favor of adjourning? Good. Meeting's adjourned. Have a good night, folks.
6-6.